I need new music.
This is the JJO Discover New Music Podcast.
Welcome to another edition of Discover New Music here on JJO, and very excited for my guest today. A guest that I actually go way back with, I believe, to 2014 in a tiny little karaoke bar called Bugsy Malone's in front of maybe... What do we have? Maybe like 12 people there, including myself at that. Johnny, do you remember that all those years ago?
Vaguely. I have little blurry snapshots in my mind, but I do remember there not being a lot of people.
Yeah. And now here we all are with the latest album, Carnal, From Nothing More. And I want to kick things off. By the way, it's Johnny Hawkins, everybody. We're just sitting here reminiscing. I didn't even introduce you.
Who is this guy?
Yeah, this guy. Let's talk about Carnal. Where does it stand sonically, creatively, directionally, etc. for Nothing More?
We decided to go a little bit back to our roots on this album. And by that, I mean kind of back to the self-titled kind of mentality when we were writing that album. Just a little more guitar heavy, like leaning into the guitar riffs, whereas the stories we tell ourselves, we kind of took a little bit of a departure from that and focused a little bit more on like distorted bass and the guitar being a little bit higher and stringier sounding, and just little sonic choices like that. For example, this album, we just decided to lean into the heavy side a little bit more, and also just really try to make sure every song had a banging chorus. That was our goal. We're like, we want all bangers. Yeah. And I think we did that. I feel like every chorus on this album just feels really strong. And of course I'm biased, but I do think it's our best collective piece of work to date. Of course, there's always going to be songs like Jenny, or This Is the Time, or Go to War that are always going to be really special. But as an entire listen through, start to finish, I feel like this is one of the most enjoyable ones.
Yeah. You guys have never really shied away from really exposing yourselves, being open, being vulnerable. Do we see some of that as well? More of that on Carnal? Yeah.
I mean, there's always a bit of that, or I'd say a lot of that actually throughout the lyrics, because so many of the things that we write about are typically from a pretty personal experience. I'm trying to think though. I mean, it's all very personal, but I don't know if anything will ever get quite as personal as Jenny or God Went North. I mean, Jenny was about my sister. God Went North was about my mom passing from cancer. And it's like those, you can't really touch much closer.
Right.
And you don't really want to, I don't really want to rehash those things. So, but there's plenty of other life and stuff in this one. It's really a reflection of more of the last 2 to 3 years of my life and the guys' lives. And I really think it's some of our best work yet. So I'm excited for everybody to hear it.
Is there a track that maybe I've reworded this question? I always used to ask if there's a favorite track, but that's a really hard one for artists to do when you're this close to it. But is there a track that really sticks out to you, that really resonates with you on this album?
I think it changes really like week to week or month to month. I'll kind of go through phases where there's kind of like a honeymoon period with the album. Like, you've been working so hard on it and you've kind of seen these songs come to life, and you and the other guys in the band get to be excited about it, but not that many other people have heard it yet. So you feel like you have this secret that you really want to let out. It's really kind of annoying until it's released. And then once it's released, there's that honeymoon period where you kind of, I love to like listen to the album multiple times just to kind of reflect on the entire process and really hear the final work and where it landed. And then once that honeymoon period's done, like I'm kind of on to the next album, even though a lot of people out in the world are still kind of, will be learning about the album over the next year. My head kind of moves on just because at that point I'm sick of it, because I've been working on it for a year and a half or something. And your question though, I think right now, the song I'm jamming the most is actually turns out to be the next song that we're gonna be, but the song that we're focusing on is called Stuck. We'll be dropping a music video for that. That one's been my jammer lately.
Yeah. Well, I can't wait to hear more. And I know people will be clamoring for it. And speaking of tracks and being able to hear the full piece once again in true Nothing More fashion, you guys set the bar extremely high with the number of tracks, having 15 on this. And I've always been so intrigued by this. You guys have always really, and not that they're all long, sometimes they may be an interlude or something, but is that again continuing that Nothing More tradition of that musical journey from track one to the last track in it?
You know, when I was saying we kind of wanted to go back to our roots on the heavy stuff, in the same way we wanted to go back to our roots on kind of what we explored on the self-titled album. I dove real deep on that album and into the interludes when I was working on all the Alan Watts stuff and some of the instrumental stuff with the band. And so this one, we kind of reimagined some of those concepts. And yeah, we always like our albums to feel like a journey and kind of like if you were laying down, falling asleep and just had headphones in, or if you're on a long drive, that it could really take you somewhere. Because those have always been the albums that really impacted us. Yeah. And we felt like that's kind of like a dying art in the music world, is that aspect of the art, because everything's so single driven and single focused and bite sized. So yeah, very intentional. I think we got a good journey on this one.
I love it. I love it. And I like it. I don't have to read, so I can just listen, and that's much easier for me than actually picking up a book. So I'll take this one.
Yeah.
Over the Odyssey. Right. And some other things we've seen on this album. I really like this. We're going to talk about who you produced it with and mixed it with, because you got some heavy hitters there. But people will have a nice little treat, because on House of Sand, you feature Eric from I Prevail. That's got to be exciting to bring in that dynamic. Talk about bringing him in and adding that dynamic to the record.
Yeah, we first hung out with Eric when we were in Switzerland. We were playing a show with Disturbed and I Prevail, and we had just an amazing show and an amazing after show, because we had like a really cool green room set up there, and none of us had to leave really soon after, because that's usually the case on the road. You want to hang with these bands that you've listened to or you admire, and there's like a mutual respect, but you don't have the time. This time we actually got the time, and we had a great time with Disturbed and I Prevail. So it was soon after we got back from that European tour, and we were in the States, and we were working on the album, and we were getting closer to finishing it, that we were like, maybe we should reach out to David and reach out to Eric, because they were just fresh on our mind, and we really hit it off, and it worked out. So Eric joined us on House on Sand, and it was just like the perfect fit. Whereas David Draymond from Disturbed, initially we were going to put him on Stuck, which is the next single we're going to focus on, but we moved him to Angel Song because we wanted to do something a little more rock leaning instead of metal leaning, because we feel like he does the metal stuff all the time with Disturbed, and we felt like it would be a bigger song at radio, and he does great at radio. He's like the radio darling. Rock radio darling.
I missed that I mean, it's amazing you have Eric, but also having David Draymond on there too. I mean, prolific, obviously with his lineage in there. That's great pedigree there in the rock world. Did it push you as a vocalist a little bit there to, now having these guys on there where you're like, oh, all right, here, let's bring it, John.
Most of the songs that we've done features on, we usually would have a complete finished version with my voice already. So in case the feature didn't work out, or, because a lot of times we've reached out to other artists that we're friends with or whatever, and they're interested, but sometimes the timing doesn't work out, or they're on the road and they can't get into the studio because they need to have their voice for performing. With these two songs, with Angel Song and with House on Sand, they were already done. So my vocals were recorded, and it was just a matter if they could swap out some stuff and kind of put their twist on things and lay down some stuff. Whereas Stuck, that song, we have a feature with a guy named Sinister, who he's kind of in the funk genre, and by funk I mean PHONK. It's not funk, but funk. It's it basically, I don't know, it's this real hard style kind of electronic music, and we thought he'd be an interesting collab. And in his case, we actually didn't have a second verse or a bridge really. So we did deliver it, and it was kind of wide open. And at that time, we were so busy finishing up the other songs. I was like, let's just see what he does, because I don't really have time right now to. And so in that case, it was different. But yeah, it is difficult at first when I hear someone else's voice on it, because there's like this attachment at first to certain things that I had sung. And then after a week or so, then I kind of like loosen up, and then I'm like, oh, this sounds so much cooler with them. And I'm like stoked about it. But there's like a little bit of at
Right.
first, I'm hanging on a little bit too much, maybe.
David can't sing this as well as I can. Silly.
No, definitely not like that. Not like that. I mean, they sing the parts better, but it at times there's like it's just different than what you're used to hearing, because you've been working on it a year and a half, and you're like,
Oh, I love it. Well, it's so cool you're bringing in these elements and just expanding that Ari's intricate Nothing More sound, which I've just fell in love with from the first time I heard you guys, and it's just this wall of sound that you get, and especially in the live shows, which I tell everyone, if they've never seen Nothing More live, I mean, you go see them, you're going to be hooked for live. I don't know how you guys do it. The energy and just the showmanship on there is just amazing. But it's really cool. You guys are, of course, you guys bringing in these different elements, different singers to really just help make that wall of sound from Nothing More even bigger.
Listen, rate, share, subscribe. Discover new music now at WJJO.com, in the JJO app, or wherever you get your podcasts. Rock has a new interview every Thursday evening between 6 and 7. 94.1 JJO.
I need new music.
This is the JJO Discover New Music Podcast.
You had Drew Falk help record and produce this, and then you had Zach Cervini, and these guys have worked with bands like Disturbed, Limp Bizkit, Bring the Horizon, Machine Gun Kelly. I always like that because you guys are so involved in the record making process. Not that a lot of bands aren't, but you guys really put the blood, sweat, and tears in there. Bringing these guys in, how did they help really shape the sound of this album and what you guys were looking for?
They shaped it tremendously. The first song that we had worked on was actually, I flew out to LA and it was my first time working with Drew or Zach. And it was the first time also working without the band. Like, I just flew out and it was Zach and Drew in a room with me, and it was kind of like a trial run. I was just kind of like, what's going to happen here? And we just immediately like sparked and went into creation mode. And a few hours later, we pretty much had If It Doesn't Hurt written and like most of the vocals recorded. It was like that quick. Yeah. And I was like, holy shit, this is like, I hate the word fire, but I'm going to say it. It was fire. Like, I know it's kind of a cringy new slang, but it just was. It was just things just lit up really fast, and then I was like, okay, we gotta keep this train rolling. So then the guys came out to LA and put their musical spin on kind of what we had worked on with that song, and then we started working on the rest of the album together. With Drew, most of it, and then Zach would just kind of mix a few of the tracks. Like, he did most of our singles, and then Drew did pretty much the rest of the album.
Again, I'm so excited to have this from you guys. And again, Carnal, and go check out Nothing More. They'll be out on the road doing their thing and putting on one of the greatest live shows you will ever see. Now that we have the new record information out there with Carnal from Nothing More, I do want to ask, this is an album question / more of a Johnny question, because you're a drummer by trade, and I know there's still always going to be that drummer tick in you and everything, and being obviously the original for the band. And now here we are, really, because you and Mark formed this, and then Dan came in 2004. You guys formed this in 2003. You've been leading as frontman since 2008. That's quite some time. Do you ever feel maybe like imposter syndrome? Unwarranted, obviously. Oh, yeah. But even at this point, did you struggle with that? And even with making this new album and maybe wanting that security behind the drum kit as the frontman?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I've definitely felt that in the past. Yeah. Transitioning is not so much like it's not so much the actual skill of singing and drumming. It's the psychology. That was the biggest thing to transition that I think lagged behind the skill even. So even just a few years ago, I think my skills as a singer had almost fully developed. I'm still trying to strive to get better every year, of course, but they had developed, and I really felt like, okay, skill wise, I'm a singer now, finally. But mentally, I still, like you said, had that imposter syndrome. I think it was really probably this album is probably the first time I felt 100% like a singer.
Yeah.
And a front man and not like a drummer who became one, I guess. I think I've like fully transitioned.
I love it. I love that answer. And again, like I said, unwarranted, obviously, on that, but I know it's much different getting out there, and like you go from nice and safe behind the kit to like, oh wait, do I got to do like those jumping splits like David Lee Roth or around like that? So, which you're probably the only one other than David who could do that at this point. It's unbelievable.
I could definitely do jumps, but the jumping splits, hell no. My hip flexibility is pretty horrible. So
oh, I love it.
Working on it.
Well, good. I want to see it next time.
Maybe in 2 years I'll do the jump splits.
The next album we'll have that. Well, I love getting your insight on that, and I always love chatting with you. And I'm so proud of you guys and so happy for you again. Carnal, the latest from Nothing More. Cannot wait to hear more from you guys and see you very soon. Now that the important stuff is out of the way, let's have some fun, Johnny. Let's play rapid fire. And then I'll let you get back to it. There's no wrong answers with this, buddy. You just go with what you feel. Go with your gut.
All right.
And we'll get it figured out. Now, for you, you know what? I was going to ask this one, but with the kind of shape that you're in, I don't think you eat carbs. So maybe it doesn't make sense. Baked potato.
I actually love carbs.
Well, of course you do. But I mean, you're the most shredded guy I've ever seen. Okay. Baked potato or mashed potato on a cheat day. There you go.
Oh, baked potato. If it's got all the fixins.
Fully loaded, of course.
Fully loaded, of course.
You're not just going to raw dog a baked potato. That's insane.
Yeah, that's awful.
Everybody Wang Chung or everybody was Kung Fu Fighting?
I'm going to go with everybody's Kung Fu Fighting because I can sing it.
Oh, very nice. That's a hit track on the album. Flintstone Push Pop or Choco Taco?
Flintstone Push Pop.
Really? Very nice. Very nice.
The kid in me.
Would you rather have soaked jeans or damp socks?
Damp socks, probably.
Damp socks. Would you rather see Bigfoot or the Loch Ness Monster?
Ooh, Loch Ness Monster. That one would be creepier.
Researchers believe that famous picture of, Nessie in the water, and she's it's actually, they believe, a whale penis.
Really?
So, yeah.
Wow. Nessie was a penis this whole time. We didn't know it. Damn.
All right. Last one. Would you rather one horse-sized duck or 100 duck-sized horses?
100 duck-sized horses.
I think you could do it. it. You're fit. Yeah. You're quick. You're agile. I don't think that's.
Oh, wait. Oh, I have to fight them or just like these pets? What was the.
I would assume fight. But if you're a lover, not a fighter, you want to wrangle up all these.
Yeah, I feel like I have a better chance with duck-sized horses. I mean, I don't know. Yeah. What was it? A horse-sized duck?
Horse-sized duck. So yeah, and I'm thinking
that's frightening.
Yeah, and not like a Clydesdale, nothing crazy, just an average thoroughbred, but still big.
Still, that's a big duck with that beak. Unless I don't know what kind of weapon I have in this scenario, but I'm thinking bare hands. So
yes.
I'm doing the small ones. I'm going stomp mode.
All right. Well, I hope that question doesn't keep you up at night now that I've asked it.
It will.
Damn it. Thank you for humoring me. More importantly, Johnny, thank you for talking new music. Nothing More. Carnal. Again, I just so happy for you guys. So proud of you guys. And it's been a fun journey, and I appreciate it, brother.
Yeah. Thanks, man. Always good to see you and talk with you. And I appreciate you doing the chat.
Listen, rate, share, subscribe. Discover new music now at WJJO.com, in the JJO app, or wherever you get your podcasts. Brock has a new interview every Thursday evening between 6 and 7. 94.1 JJO.